Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Mardek, and of course we are now into the second part of this here Lost Monastery, and we ran into some monsters, zombies, rot rats, which is a little bit concerning. Let's see what we run into here, and Chaos Souls as well, I suppose, that's also a thing. Though it does seem as though we have a pretty strong party for this specific set of circumstances, because if, say, we were to use Spirit Song here, to boost the strength of our spells, and then use Donovan's new Blaze ability on everyone, it does give him a fair amount of damage. It's not quite enough to take out this last fallen cultling. However, Meridor, Flamethrower, can certainly finish things up. So it seems like the combination of Meridor and Donovan, they both can deal a lot of damage, and then Eloian boosting them is also quite helpful. And there we see a clerical mace, which is actually the weapon that those fallen cultlings were using. Let's check it out. So it's a sword, technically. Again, we've kind of seen in the past that some things that aren't really swords technically fall under the sword category. So it's 35 base attack, which is a little bit lower than Mardek's Fish Slayer. It's a simple but deadly weapon, which is essentially an ornate bronze block on a stick. Oh, they're often used by priests, for some reason. Okay. It does give the Smite plus offensive reaction, which I believe is the one that Vern starts off with, or at least gets from basically his first sword. So nothing new there, per se. Vern has, of course, already mastered that. And 4% crit chance is more or less average. So, all in all, I don't really think there's much special about it, but we have it, so cool. And now if we look at what we should expect in this part, well, this winds around a little bit. There are two chests in here, which, for what may be a relatively large area, seems like might actually be a relatively small amount. And these rot rats, I think we found that if we Requiem against them, it deals enough damage that, yes, it will take them out immediately on their turn. So that is fantastic. Does, however, mean that Eloian is not using her spell that makes it so that Donovan and Meridor are dealing more damage with their spells. However, between the two of them, still enough damage to take out everyone. So again, having a bit of a safety net there between Donovan going first and having a pretty high amount of damage, just might need a little bit of a boost from Eloian to get everyone down. Even if that doesn't happen, then Meridor's there to cover us. Or those clerical maces, so maybe they're not so rare after all. And Meridor masters plus 20% experience. He is, I believe, still the lowest experience, or lowest level party member right now. Yes, that is the case. He's on 98% experience. So in some ways, it might not be a bad thing to keep that on him, even if he's mastered it. But he does have room for a lot of new skills here. If we say we're to unequip plus 20% experience and clarity, he is 9 RP to spare. That's enough for some big things like resist, insert elements here. And do we have any of those items available to us right now to do just that? Because Eloian's using the Geo Jacket for Resist Earth, Donovan's using the Night Jacket for Resist Dark. We do have the Trilobite armors, but unfortunately, Meridor cannot wear them because they're medium armors. So, for that reason, I think that probably means that either we use a turquoise, because that does give Resist Ether, which, as we were saying before, is not nearly as common as many of the other elements like Earth and Dark, but there might be something to be said for trying to master that. So we could give that a shot. And what about you, Eloian? Have you mastered 20% experience? You have. So you don't need that Candriatho. What might we put in to replace that turquoise? Remember that her songs, the power of them is based on how much spirit she has, so in theory, if we don't have anything special that we're trying to put on her for skill purposes, then just throwing on something that gives her some additional spirit is probably a decent idea. And so I'm looking at things like the Sapphire gives +2. We can probably do better than that. We still have, say, something like a Sapphire Bangle giving +3. That would be preferable. As for whether Eloian has mastered the skill on this, plus 20% MP, she has. So I don't recall as to just how much RP she has available to her. We could take a look here. My guess is, since she's using Resist Earth, yeah, she's precisely none. She is about to master +1 Vitality, yes, but I think for right now at least, let's just throw on a High Spirit item. Okay, chest here. It is somewhat dramatically placed. I feel like there's a non-zero chance there's an enemy here. Yes, that is in fact the case. What? A Fallen Paladin? Okay, this is the first of these guys we've seen. Looks like a zombie warrior? Possibly? Light Elemental, though. Yes, he is undead. Fairly high amount of strength. Spirit +7, even if he only appeared to have started with 10. 50 attack. That is quite high, and 10 defense means physical attack's not going to be terribly effective against him, but just 2 magic defense, so spells should be pretty strong. Not to mention, much like many of the other undead enemies that we've seen here, weakness to fire. That is very good to see, because we have a lot of fire damage characters right now. And actually heals to light and is weak to dark. That is very unusual for undead enemies, but I suppose we are in a holy temple of Yellort. Maybe that's why. He is wearing Yellort sigils on his armor here and there, so lots of interesting items as well. Perhaps those are some of the things giving him all those stat boosts, but how do we start this one off? Do we go with the Requiem, which will deal a little bit of damage to him? I think we saw, based on what we were doing previously against the Rot Rats, it was somewhere around 600. We put on a little bit more Spirit for Elwian now. Actually, I don't remember how much Spirit the item we took off had, so on net it might be roughly the same amount of Spirit and therefore roughly the same amount of damage. Basically, though, 600 damage against an 8,844 HP enemy, probably not going to do too much for us. So I'm thinking Requiem, it is an option, but probably not the best option. I'm thinking maybe instead we go with Spirit Song to boost other people's spells, and that way we can have Donovan and Meridor have more powerful fire spells. And fortunately, the Fallen Paladin does go last here. He is slow, so that is helpful because we can say, use a Blaze and see how much damage we can do with that. Answer is fair amount of that damage. Oh, but he has a counterattack. And an extremely strong one at that. Look at Donovan's HP. Okay. Good to know. Bear in mind, Meridor has slightly less HP than Donovan does, so if, say, the Fallen Paladin were to do precisely the same thing against Meridor, then that might not end so well. I mean, this is, between Donovan and Meridor, our primary source of damage, so, I mean, we can still give it a shot here. But, is he going to do the same thing? He is, and we don't have any defensive reactions for Meridor. Okay, Mardek. So, we have some options here, and by options I mean, we really need you to heal, but at the same time, putting on some shields might not be a bad idea. Thing is, well, you can only do one of those things right now, and what would we like for that one thing to be? I mean, you could go offensive here, that's probably not a great idea, but just out of curiosity. Water or air, no difference there, in terms of which one Mardek were to use, so I think we probably throw on the heals. And depending on how much we do heal for, yeah, okay, they are still at full HP, and fortunately, he attacks Mardek, the person who has the highest defenses, so 50 damage compared to 600 plus damage. I'll take 50 damage for sure. So I think we keep on Spirit Songing, so we can just wait with you, Eloian. And it does mean that if we are to do the same thing we did last time around, then presumably he's still going to use that reaction and possibly get a slightly higher roll on the damage and maybe even take Donovan or Meridor out, which would not be great, of course. I think you could almost make a case for deliberately waiting on Donovan and Meridor. That way, we won't have the Fallen Paladin use a reaction this time around. Give Mardek the chance to, instead of healing this time, put on a shield, and then say, let's give this a shot. So, what we do here is we're going to pass with both Meridor and Donovan. On Mardek's turn, we're going to throw a shield on take your pick, Meridor or Donovan, and whoever we put the shield on will use a spell in their next turn. So I'm thinking, not that, oh, Donovan's actually pretty low on MP here, which is a little bit concerning, so why don't we go Meridor in that case. So now Meridor will use a spell this time around, Donovan will not. And Elwian, and you could use a healing item here on Donovan even. Wouldn't be a terrible idea. He's down a little over 300 HP. And you don't have a... Well, Mugwort Juice I think would be the closest. That heals 500. It'd be a little bit of an overheal, yes. But it might be worth it. Let's do it, just to keep Donovan alive. And Donovan, you will pass this turn, I suppose, Donovan. That means you could have instead thrown on one of those Mugwort Deuces on yourself. You only have one. But that way, we could have kept Eloise continuing to use her Spirit Song. But now, Meridor, you have the shield on. So now you are safe to use this. You will take a fair amount of damage still when this guy counters. But it's half of what it was before. So that's the idea there. And then Mardek, I'm thinking you put the shield on Donovan this time. And we hope that Fallen Paladin does not target Meridor and then take him out, even though we put on the shield. But I think this is perfect here. Now, Elwian, you can go back to Spirit Song. Donovan, I think you're pretty safe to use a flame, or rather a blaze here. But we could have had you use an MP restoring item on your previous turn. That probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. So yeah, if we did not put on that shield on Donovan, he would have gone down there. That is why I wanted to make sure we had the shield on first, and then started using the spells. Meridor, same logic here, except you are down on half HP already. So this is a bit of a risk if we were to attack now. I think we might want to heal up. Except, well, that might still be something that's better for Mardek to do. So I think what we do is, on your turn, let's restore a little bit of MP for Donovan. Mardek will heal. We'll just take this a little bit slowly here. Get everyone back up to full, but again, the difference is, this time around, we have plenty of shields. And Evelyn, I think, yes, you can keep on doing this. No problem there. Donovan, you are now safe to blaze again. And Fallen Paladin is getting low on HP. Mardek may still need to heal, possibly targeted heal on Donovan. Flamethrower. Almost enough to take him out, but he will, of course, counter Meridor. And then Mardek, I mean, if we're getting really greedy, we could try throwing on some kind of attack here and see if that would be enough. But I think we have a pretty good system down here. Let's not mess with it. Not when it's about to succeed, except that is concerning, and I missed the reaction, which is also concerning. So he is berserked, and he has hasted, meaning he will now go twice in a row, and he will deal more damage. However, fortunately, I think we'll still be able to take him out with our next attack here, unless he has some serious trick up his sleeve and is not going to go down to this blaze here. But there we go. Okay. That was tough. A little bit unusual of an enemy there, in that it was a light elemental undead enemy. Righteous Justice and Rending Eye. Two new items that we've not yet seen. We did see that this guy had some interesting ones equipped, and I think that Rending Eye might have been the axe. Donovan also masters the offensive magic reaction, and Elwyn masters +1 vitality. So, let's take a look at what we just picked up. So, the Righteous Justice is a sword with 40 base attack, which is higher than Mardek's current sword. It's a holy sword, forged for and wielded by a legendary Yalortian paladin of some sort. It is meant to be used to bring justice to evil beings. Okay. And it gives a new skill that is Vern's symbol there, so this would be for Vern. I suppose somewhat fitting, given how this is technically Vern's mission, and you know, you would perhaps have reason to bring Vern along with you. Smite X, rather than Smite Plus. That is actually a new offensive reaction, so that one also worth looking into. And then Soul Strike as well, and that's interesting, because Soul Strike is something that several characters do already have access to, but no one on the sword front, neither Vern nor Mardek, has been able to pick it up just yet, so that would allow them to turn their physical attacks into light elemental, and there could be reason to do that going forward. Except this is only usable by Vern. It is light elemental and effective against undead, so also fitting, maybe a bit of a version 2.0 of the silver sword that we saw back in Chapter 2. +2 strength and +3 spirit. Remember that spirit is a big deal for Vern, so to get 3 off of a sword spot is pretty good, and +20 MP is not bad either. So, I mean, that's something we'd love to have on Mardek as well, but definitely some very interesting things here. Active skills, reactions, just strong base power as well. So we'll definitely want to get Vern back in on the action soon to at least see what this is all about. We did also pick up the Rending Eye, which is a great axe with 50 base attack, an axe shaped like the Eye of Yalort. It's designed for ceremonial purposes, but it still packs a wallop if used in real combat. It's no skills, but very high offensive capabilities there with the high attack, +2 spirit as well, and a little bit of resistance to dark, which is unusual coming from a weapon. So that will be for Slinic, of course, with it being a great axe, but worth checking that out as well. Okay, And now let's see what we can find on the other side, because I think we more or less went over to the left side here, and there might also be roughly equivalent right side over here. And we did, however, also find that I thought that some people, yes, mastered some new abilities, so we could take off +1 vitality for Ellie in here, and I mean, with 2 RP, she could still learn another one of the +1 insert attributes here. That would mean she has vitality, she has spirit, so we could do agility, or we could do strength. I don't think strength's going to be terribly relevant for her, because very rarely is she going to be using physical attacks. But +1 agility, I mean, she's also quite quick. She starts off with 19 agility, and she's getting +2 from something right now. Not entirely sure what. But would that be reason to make a point of throwing on one of those other +1 attributes gems, if we even have any in our inventory right now, which we may not? We do have the +1 strength one. That would be the fire opal. We could learn it for now, but basically what I'm getting at here is it's not going to do much for her. And also, at least short term, it would be preferable to put on +1 spirit, because like we were saying, her songs get more powerful the more spirit she has, so this would give us a little boost. But in the name of at least mastering another skill, then sure, let's do this. And let's just do a quick check here. Oh, you could throw on an additional defensive reaction here, so let's do that. And you do still have an offensive reaction that we, at some point in time, should try to master. And then I thought we saw that, yes, Meridor did master +20% experience. We were talking about trying to find something else to put on. And Resist Ether, maybe not super high on our priority list, but it is strong, at least under more niche of scenarios. But when it is relevant, we'll be very happy that we have it. So let's double back here a little bit and try the right side. Oh, and the other thing is, I think we blew through a lot of our MP there. Yeah, Donovan is still on 42, and Donovan could also probably use a heal here. So, let's use more of that MP. And then we will restore it after this fight. And not enough to take out the cultlings this time. But again, the flamethrower should be more than enough to cover us. And it is. And we get another clerical mace, so sure. Maybe they are quite common, actually. So let's make a point of healing. And then the MP, Mardek's doing okay there, but Donovan's really the person who needs it most. So do we have, say, spare mana barriers? We appear to have just that. For an Ether, is that 100 MP that we get back from that? Yes, and that would be just about the right amount. Is it overkill? Perhaps? If we're playing it safe, then I suppose we might want to do that, so sure. Let's give that a shot, because we saw that Donovan is going through that MP pretty quickly in here. But with him using Blaze, which is a pretty high MP skill, and we're using it against multiple people at once, so that is largely the reason why, I think. This should help, though, because Requiem can take out the Rot Rats, meaning that Donovan will only have one target here, meaning he will use only 12 MP rather than 24. So it's a small difference, but it helps. Okay, more holy water, sure thing. And as for what's on this side, the answer is seemingly another chest. This time around, we might just be able to Requiem everyone out of existence. And that does appear to be the case. And I do think that that damage on Requiem is a little bit higher. I thought we were on roughly 640 before, now we saw 670. And so we did throw on a little bit more spirit on Elwyn, and so there you see, it is boosting the damage a bit. But yeah, based on what happened for the previous chest that we opened that looked just like this, I'm guessing we're going to find another battle against another one of these fallen paladins. So, what have we learned? I think we've learned that let's actually go Requiem first, because we're not going to be using spells on either Donovan or Meridor at the very beginning. We're going to be focusing on putting those shields on first. So, that gives us at least 1 or 2 turns of dealing some damage with the Requiem before we have to start doing the blazes for our primary source of damage. So we pass on you guys, so that you guys aren't taking one of those big reactions when you don't have a shield on. That's the idea there. And then we shield on either one of these guys. Let's throw it on Donovan. Then he will take his turn. Takes a little bit of damage from the Requiem, except perhaps we should have chosen Meridor. Of course, no way in knowing which one he was going to target there. But again, Meridor has no defensive reactions, and that was just enough damage to take him out. So that's concerning. That is definitely concerning. Elwian, do you say have a Phoenix down? You say do not. So that means why don't you just keep on Requieming and just forget that we saw anything here. Donovan, you do have a single Phoenix down, so you could do it, except I mean, you are our primary source of damage here. So I think we probably stick with the Blaze, and I think it's going to be up to Mardek to bring back Meridor, and we just really hope this guy doesn't turn around and attack Meridor again and immediately take him out. So you have a shield on. So this is, well, especially if he misses, no problem at all. So, Mardek, I think you were hogging the Phoenix Downs. Yes, you absolutely were. And the Fallen Paladin will go next, and does decide to do exactly the thing that we were hoping he would not do. So, let's keep on Requieming once more. And no problem with the Blazes, because this guy did not hit us last time with the reaction, so Donovan is still safe, even without a heal. And, well, yeah, gets rid of roughly half of his HP, so that does mean that we'll want to apply some kind of heal before he uses his next spell. And, Mardek, you're still on Phoenix Down duty. One of these days, Paladin will not target Meridor. Fortunately, Donovan had that shield on, otherwise he would have been done and dusted there. So, Elwian, question now is, do you heal someone? I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to end up healing with Mardek, because both Meridor and Donovan need it. So that means we can get the healing done in one turn with Mardek, whereas if we were to use items, we'd have to take multiple turns, because you can only apply one item per turn, and apply those items to one person. So, yeah, I think for that reason, do we stick with Requiem? I think we do. And it is starting to add up a little bit, of course. Mid-600s in terms of damage each turn over the course of, what, 3 turns now? Which is roughly equivalent to almost 2 of Donovan and Meridor's spells. So that's something. Okay, so Donovan, you could heal here, but for the most part, I think you need to pass, because if you were to get a reaction on you, you would be dead. Same thing with Meridor. We need Mardek to heal you first. And we could have used healing items with Donovan and Meridor, because, yeah, they weren't otherwise going to do anything. Okay, well, Meridor surviving with 6 HP. Never mind, we're good here. We're good here. Means Meridor will not be able to use any skills this time around, but at least we don't need to be concerned about reviving him this time. And this might be an instance where using a healing item could be worthwhile. That way, Meridor is almost at max HP here. Donovan, either you could Blaze, deal some damage, or you could use a better potion, get Meridor capped on the HP, and then that means that Mardek could apply a shield on his next turn to Meridor, and that would be our more sustainable way of keeping Meridor alive. We just couldn't quite get ahead of the Fallen Paladin this time around. He kept on taking down Meridor before we had the chance to do that. So, I think we actually do this. Plan in for the long term rather than the short term. Meridor, you still do not want to attack just yet, because we need to throw on that shield first. And now, things should be considerably safer. And we've not yet seen you target Elwian, and fortunately, she also just barely survived. Now, she was previously using Requiem, but she used a potion on her previous turn, and therefore means she was not Requieming. And now we have the opportunity to use some Blazes again. Put the damage back on. And if you miss with the reactions, then that helps a lot. Takes some less pressure on Mardek. Because Mardek probably will still need to heal Meridor here, or just do a party-wide heal, tell you the truth, because Elwian also needs it. Elwian not quite at full HP. There is the Berserk Rage, and he will go again and target Donovan this time. But having haste means that he will take extra damage from Requiem, because remember, he's taking that damage every time he takes a turn. So in some ways, it's been almost the MVP of this fight here. I think we do want to transition to Spirit Song here, though, because with just one more hit, I think we can get him down here. So let's bump the damage up on it, and that is the case. And we get some Righteous honor, as well as another rending eye and a dead hand. Okay, so let's check this stuff out. And the righteous honor, where did we put it? We put it here in Meridor's inventory, so we know what the rending eye is. That's the same great axe that we saw previously. That much is the same. But righteous honor is a heavy armor with 8 defense, a suit of heavy armor forged and worn by a legendary paladin of Yellort. It's meant to represent the mighty and protection of the paladin code or something, apparently. It also gives an active skill for Vern, lay on hands, whatever that means. Also, defensive reaction, both for physical and magic, mind you, and purity. It is only usable by Vern, same thing we saw with the sword, which, again, is perhaps fitting, seeing as how this is the Yellortian monastery, and Vern is a devout worshipper of Yellort. As for the armor, above and beyond that, it gives 3 spirit, which again, we want as much spirit as we can get on Vern, so getting some from a chestplate is uncommon and very helpful. 100 HP as well, and powers light, which again doesn't really do anything, but absorbs light 100%, so a ton of light resistance. That is fantastic. I don't think we have anything that absorbs light like that. The best items we have are the 50% resistance to light rings, which we may or may not have in our inventory right now. These ones here, the Moonstone Ring, as well as the Eclipse Amulet. And between these guys, we can get people up to 100% light resistance fairly easily, but going above and beyond that is quite tricky. So to have heal 100% from light on an armor, granted only usable by Vern, but still, that is a nice pickup for sure. So, that's the chest down here. And then, is there anything down the middle route? It does seem so. In fact, another door that might be leading us to another level of the temple. Okay, these guys shouldn't be too tough for us. As long as we Requiem to take you out, and we have enough MP remaining on Donovan to take you out. Probably do still want to heal after this battle. Donovan could use it a bit. Much like we saw after the previous fight against the Fallen Paladins. So let's do that now, before we forget. Elwian, you'll probably be fine. Don't worry about it. And so, you know, if we wanted to make a point of bringing Vern back in for his quest, then this would perhaps be a good time to do that. But, or we could just wait it out and make a point of giving these other people an opportunity to play a little bit more, seeing as how they haven't had a ton of time in which to do that. So I think we Spirit Song here to boost the power of our magic. And Donovan, this will use up roughly half of your MP here, I think. And the good thing about Meridor compared to Donovan is, yes, their fire spells have roughly the same amount of damage, however, Meridor does not use MP with any of his skills, and therefore, or at least any of the skills that we currently have. Okay, music changed. Very ominous. There appears to be some kind of NPC over here, and chest beyond you. This is giving me some serious boss vibes. Let's just, you know, like, throw on some MP restoration, perhaps. Just in case. You know, just in case. Hello? Ghost-looking thing? Fallen High Priest.
Halt, trespassers. This is no place for mortal minds. Please leave, for your own good. Please, lest you fall to this baleful madness too.
Well, we're here looking for a stone thing.
What? No. The stone brings madness and decay. It binds souls. We weren't even allowed to pass to the afterlife. Such was our sin unto our Lord. Forgive us. Oh, please, Yellort! My brothers succumbed to the madness of the stone to an extreme degree, and are beyond reason now. I was the only one who kept my senses. Though my body rotted and decayed, I have taken it upon myself to guard the stone, to prevent its evil from befalling anyone or anywhere else. You cannot have it!
This gives us no option, then.
but to take it. On guard, spirit.
Okay. Fallen High Priest. If we were concerned about those Fallen Paladins being tough, well then this guy does have 15,700 HP. He is a spirit rather than undead, so that means that Requiem not going to do anything against you. You are, with 15 agility, means that you are actually going to go after Eloian here, which is a little bit concerning. And then 50 attack means you're going to hit pretty hard with your attacks, as well as 20 magic defense. Uh-oh, that means not a lot of damage with our magic spells, and this is the primary way we've been doing damage with this current party. Mardek is our best physical attacker of the people we have with us right now, and we haven't been using him too much to do that as of late, so it could be a bit tough. What does that mean for you, Elwian? It means Requiem does nothing. Lore Sturge will do a tiny bit, but not a lot. Runic Rhapsody does decrease all damage from magic attacks. That might be our best option. Not sure to what extent this guy's going to be using physical attacks versus magical attacks against us, but if we're not doing much in the way of spells, or at least not going to be doing nearly as much damage with them, then Spirit Song might not be as strong of an option for us, so I think we go with Runic Rhapsody, at least to play it safe to start here. At least until we know how strong these spells are, and it does seem like since he used the spell immediately, that was the way for us to go. Mardek did get blinded, and of all the people to get blinded, Mardek is not the person we would want that to happen to. Fortunately, we do have a Liquid Light here to remove that, and I think that is probably worthwhile, because as we were saying, Mardek, we're going to want you to attack. Now, we can Flamethrower. Some question as to how effective this is going to be with 20 magic defense. Yes, there is 50% fire weakness, sure, but I'm not sure to what extent Veridor is going to be able to get through that. Oh, I missed a reaction as well. 600 damage is something. Do you have a reaction? No. Okay, I missed the reaction, so we could have dealt more damage. But at least, unlike the Fallen Paladins, this guy was not countering, or at least does not seem to be countering everything that we do here. And it is tempting to use an Air Slash on Mardek, because as we saw, some air weakness means that, in theory, that is the best way to go, with 0 physical defense. But, at the same time, throwing on some heals, or even regeneration, shields, magic shields, to give us some more long-term resistances, is tempting. But I think maybe starting off with a morality block, we did see the first skill that this guy used against us was Dark Elemental. So I think this might be the safest route for us to take. And then Elliot, I think you stick with what you're doing right now. Lowering the effectiveness of magic spells against us, I think, will be a difference maker. Unfortunately, Green Lightning is, well, not light or dark, and therefore we would not have nulled it. But Donovan can avoid some spells, and did do just that there. Hey, I think we Blaze. I think we give it a shot here. Donovan, last time round, did remove the blindness on Mardek, but Mardek does not have the blindness anymore. Reacting with silence. Okay. Now Donovan will not be able to use spells, at least not until we remove that. So... Oh, I did not mean to wait. I meant to use an item there to say, consider removing said silence on Donovan. So... Oopsie. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us here. So... Mardek, you could probably remove said silence with a liquid sound. However, you only have one of those? Is silence a status you can remove with remove taint? The answer is no. So that's actually going to be pretty difficult to get rid of. We do have remedies as well. That can do it too. But I'm kind of thinking that on this occasion, we either start throwing on shields and magic shields, or we use an attack. I'm thinking we might want to throw on some magic shields, because it seems like that is sort of the theme that we've seen thus far, is that it's been almost entirely magic abilities from this guy. And Eloian, you can wait, unless you were the one to apply said remedy or liquid sound, which is tempting. I think we give it a shot. We do have the nulls on, so if this guy is about to use a dark spell, then at least it won't be terribly effective. It is, however, Earth, and it did stun Elwian. I missed a reaction as well. Missed several of them, but this Blaze might be able to do a reasonable amount of damage. We hope he doesn't counter with some silence, but he might. He doesn't, so it seems like he has a probability of reacting that way, but is not guaranteed, per se. Let's throw on a flamethrower as well and try to hit the reaction this time. 700 damage when we do that. No reaction? Okay. Mardek, we could remove the paralysis on Eloian. I'm not sure that's a super high priority, though, because, at least as of right now, she's lowering the amount of damage that the Fallen High Priest can do with his spells, yes, but she's not dealing any damage directly. As for whether that is more important than dealing the damage with Veridor, Donovan, and Mardek, Hard to say. I think we probably, though, focus on throwing on more magic shields. And who did we put the first one on? We put it on, not Mardek, put it on Meridor. So let's throw this one on Donovan. So Mardek does have the most HP, so even if he is probably our most valuable character right now, it does still mean that we probably can be a little more patient with him. And we can probably go back to Runic Rhapsody here. The paralysis could theoretically interrupt you, and there is the null from the morality block, so important that we put that on, because that's our first physical attack we've seen. This guy has 50 attacks, so it could be quite powerful. We're on another Blaze. Again, roughly 700 damage. Same as we saw with Meridor. And fortunately, no reaction either. Meridor, I think, can keep it up here. Only, oh, 487. Did they lower Meridor's spirit or something with that? I don't know why he suddenly dealt so much less damage. Oh, you know what? I think it's because, I don't recall, but it might be that Eloian's song that is currently lowering magic abilities, the effectiveness of those, I think it might apply to us as well. Because at least the description does not specifically say that it is enemies only that it's affecting. So that might actually be the reason why. In which case, it's, well, arguably, maybe not as good of an idea. But at least for right now, let's throw on more magic shields, and next on the list would be Eloian. Though it does seem that physical shields could also be useful. Eloian levels up because she does get experience whenever she's using her songs, so that's enough right there. Unfortunately, the paralysis has not done anything to her just yet. So do we want to, say, use a Spirit Song instead? Boost our own magic abilities? Let's give that a shot. Here is Void, and we did not reapply the morality block on Meridor, who's the only person that has used up that Null Dark. Wasn't a ton of damage, and it did apply a Blind, which is not the end of the world for him, because he's not going to be using any physical attacks, so that should be fine. Oh, man. Yeah, our spells are seemingly getting weaker and weaker. There's Silence. Even though we applied the song that makes them stronger, I'm actually not sure why that's happening. Interesting. Okay, and very odd at that. Like, is this gonna do 100 damage? Or thereabouts? Nope, back to 700. What? Oh, did we use... We might have used Flame rather than Blaze on Donovan. That might have been why. That might have just been my bad. Okay, so... Then we've used Magic Shields on everyone except for Mardek. I think we can probably pass on that. Meridor, theoretically, could use a Morality block, yes. But I think let's make a point instead of putting on Shields. Meridor has the lowest HP here, so is in theory the most vulnerable. And Eloian, yeah, I think you're fine, sticking with the spell boosting abilities here. And there is Confusion, and it is Dark. What? It applies like every single status on Meridor. So that's what we get, perhaps, for not having the Null Dark on. And maybe that is an indication that we should make a point of throwing that on in the future, because that is concerning. Now, we could throw on a Remedy and remove all those things in one fell swoop, which is probably worthwhile. Does mean losing a turn on Donovan, but I think that is worth it. Gets rid of Curse, Poison, Confusion, Blindness, all that stuff, so I think that'll pay off. Does mean that Meridor can, of course, attack here. Okay, and then Mardek, Meridor, well, Fallen High Priest has been gaining up on him a little bit, so maybe we use Morality block just to put that Null Dark back on, just in case. And then, Eloian, just keep it up. You do you. That madness will get nulled. So that is the key, leaving that Null Dark on and reapplying it every turn whenever we use it up. So that way, this guy cannot inflict all those statuses on everyone. And, oh, Donovan is silenced? He's silenced. That's why he can't do this right now. So, that means either that you ought to use, well, probably means you're going to use an item here. Just a matter of, do we want to heal with you? Do we want to try to use a really cold water or something like that to deal damage? Remedy to remove statuses on, probably would be Eloian. I'm thinking that healing Meridor, though, might be the best way to go, because he's pretty low at the moment. Do you have any Mugwort Juice? You have precisely one. And Meridor is what? Down about 400 HP. This heals 500. It's a little bit overkill, but I think it's probably okay in this circumstance. So let's Flamethrower again. 900 damage. Okay, so that's much better. That's more along the lines of what we're looking for. So we could apply a shield, or we could reapply the Morality block for Eloian. I think we do that. And then Elwyn, just keep on doing it. Because Madness will get nulled this time, so we reapplied that null on Meridor. Good thing that we did. Donovan, you are still silenced, so it might be time now to use, if you have a liquid sound on yourself, that would be preferable. If not, I suppose we could resort to a remedy, although that is also a little bit overkill, because that removes any and all statuses, which is a little bit stronger. But again, this seems like a pretty difficult battle, so let's use the stuff that we need to use to pull it off. Okay, and now Mardek, the person who has used up their Null Dark, I believe, is Meridor, right? So let's use the Morality Block on him. Just double check. Yeah, he does not have the Dark Circle floating above his head. So let's put it back. And then Elwyn, keep on going. Silencing, ooh, Mardek, that's a tough one. He should have the items on himself to get rid of said silence, but still, that is of course not the person we want to see that silence happening to. Fortunately though, no dark abilities that time around, so there's the reaction with silence, although it missed. Also very fortunate there. So yeah, no need to reapply a null dark this turn, so of all the times which Mardek might need to use an item, this is a good turn for that to happen. And when we get the chance to have everyone use those spells, then it does add up the damage. Of course, now Meridor has been silenced and therefore will not have the ability to use that next turn unless we remove said silence right now. Mardek, you could still use physical attacks. So an air slash, as we were saying before, with 0 defense, 50% air weakness is perhaps the most effective way to deal that damage. It's not going to deal 5,000 damage. So for that reason, I think we probably still opt to use something like a remedy or a liquid sound. And, well, do we prefer putting it on Meridor or putting it on Mardek? I think we should prioritize Mardek, because those null darks are so important for this reason here. So, now we can blaze 1,000 damage here. And get closer, the silence will hit and apply that silence, so that is unfortunate, yes. Meridor, you are still silenced. You do have a liquid sound you could use either on yourself or on Donovan. If you use it on yourself, you're still using up your whole turn, whereas if you use it on Donovan, Donovan will be able to go on his next turn. High Priest is on low enough HP that I think a couple more turns of damage could be a difference maker here, so let's just throw it on Donovan instead. And the Morality Block, someone needs it, right? It was... Is it Meridor? It is Meridor. Mardek also starting to run a little bit low on MP here. And yes, good timing to put that back on Meridor, otherwise I would have applied a lot of status effects there. Blaze, it's getting us close. Meridor, you don't have the Null Dark on right now, and you are still silenced, so you cannot use that ability at the moment. You could heal. That's about it. Or Holy Water, no one needs this right now, so unfortunately, I think the heal is not terribly necessary at this point. You are probably just passing right now. And Mardek, this is the time when you could arguably make the case that it could be worth using an Air Slash if we thought that was enough to take this guy out. I don't think that's quite the case just yet. I don't think he's going to deal on the order of 3,000 damage, 2,000 maybe. I think we'd fall just shy. So, for that reason, I think we stick with throwing on the Morality Blocks. One more round. Pass here. And all the more reason to throw on those Morality Blocks. The Blaze should get us close. And now we are probably within striking distance for Mardek. And Meridor still not going to be able to do anything here. That's alright, though, because I think this is the time when we have Mardek steal all the glory for himself, get a kill steal here. Fortunately, assuming he hits, he does. High Priest down. Phoenix Pinion, I believe we had to use a Phoenix down at one point, or actually multiple points, to bring back Meridor. So that's useful.
You have bested me. Your power is phenomenal, and your spirit true. You may take the stone. I feel that in doing so, you will grant us our freedom, and for that, I thank you. But please, I implore you, destroy the stone. I believe that Yalort would never ask for it in any form, and has forsaken us or even touching it, as it was not he who sent it. I know now. For the good of mortal minds, make dust of it, and scatter its particles in the ocean. I must depart. With the stone's departure, I feel that we will finally be able to move on to the next world. We've been far too long bound to this mortal coil. Okay. Cool. Thanks, man. There's theoretically a chest over here. And it has a monastery stone in it. It's a small rock. Small enough to fit comfortably in your hand. It's actually a gem covered in hardened earth from when it fell from the sky. Yeah, you know, the very gem that drove everyone in this monastery insane and made it so they couldn't pass on into the afterlife. But I'm sure nothing bad could possibly happen if we were to pocket this, right? Surely not. But anyways, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, so I'll see you guys next time when we'll see if we go completely mad.